Hello everybody and welcome to Georamble's here at the top of the Costanera Tower in Santiago, Chile. Santiago, Chile is a huge city. It's one of the largest cities in the world, in fact, and its population is approaching something like 7 million. In fact, it's a lot more if you count the informal settlements at the edge of the city. And here we are on the top of the tallest building in Latin America, which gives us a great vantage point to look at the morphology of the city and to consider some of the problems that face it as it grows and expands and evolves across space. Just a little bit about this particular tower. It was completed in 2015, and in many ways it symbolises the globalisation of the Chilean economy, funded by the copper exports from the north of the country and the opening of the economy which occurred in the 1970s and the 1980s. And this huge building symbolises really the takeoff of the Chilean economy into the world stage. Chile has been in the OECD for 8 years now, and it really has moved away from, escaped what you might call developing world status quite some time ago. But let's have a look at the city a little bit, and we can see some of the challenges that are faced here. As we look down this way, we see towards the centre of the city, and the old centre of the city, the part where the governmental functions are, the Palacio de la Moneda, where the president symbolically stays. We can see here Cerro San Cristobal overlooking the city, and what you'll see over the city is quite clearly a thick layer of smoke and fog mixed. Santiago suffers terribly from pollution because it's in a natural basin, and not only that, very densely populated city, leading to obviously vehicle pollution and so on, as well as the industrial area which is located towards the southwest of the city. And it creates significant problems. In fact, it's a lot better now than it was some time ago. Around, I think it was 15 years ago or so, the transport system was modernised and all the buses were converted to catalytic output, and the smog problem was significantly reduced. But it's still a problem, and they have a system whereby only a certain amount of cars is allowed to circulate on any given day to try and get that problem down. It has an impact on human health, and it brings enormous costs to the Chilean economy and society because of it. So it's an ongoing problem. Now, if we move elsewhere, we'll see some other things. If we look down towards the south here, let's go over here, camera person. We look down here, and we see the area of the city called Providencia, and it looks over into another part of the city called Macul. And you can see a long row of buildings here along a street that's called Irarrázaval. Now, what's happened in Santiago is that as space becomes increasingly scarce and the value of the land rises, increasingly developers have been building upwards. They've been building upwards. And apartment living is very much the mode of habitation here in Santiago. And it's been extensive. And lots of the old parts of Santiago have been knocked down in order to make way for these new apartments that you see all over the city. Of course, the problem with that is it's extremely dense, and that leads to all sorts of problems when it comes to waste disposal and, of course, traffic. So in these areas here, you see a significant density of population, and that leads to all sorts of geographic problems. And there seems to be no end to it. Land prices continue to rise, the incentives for developers go up, and because the Chilean economy is an open, free market economy, the regulations that exist in order to build such properties are relatively, in an international standard, relatively few. So it's relatively easy to build these things, and great profits can be made from them. So the town moves up and down with property booms and property declines. Right, let's go over here. If we go over here towards the west of the city, towards the east of the city, we get to what they call the Barrio Alto. And what you see in South American cities all across the continent is a similar thing. often towards the mountains, towards the Andes. You can see the Andes here, the foothills of the Andes. The highest that we can see from here is Cerro El Plomo, which is 5,000 meters high up here, and Aconcagua, which is a little further away, is something like getting on for it's over 8,000 meters. But the Barrio Alto is where the rich people live, and those rich people that live there work in the sector here, which is called Las Condes often, and they commute from further up the valley towards the east. It's above the smog, and you find this in South American cities. The elite area is often at the opposite end of the city from the industrial area, so, and it's usually raised as well, and it kind of escapes the fog, and it tends to kind of project out from the centre in a kind of wedge-like fashion, and is often called the Barrio Alto, the high-class area, if you like. People who live in those areas don't have to have much contact with the rest of the city. They can kind of survive within this city, or this sub-city here. So Las Condes and Vitacura and the other parts of this Barrio Alto are actually, in effect, cities in their own right. In fact, the city is divided into comunas, all of which have a mayor, and all of which have certain powers in terms of the way they control their particular space. There is an overall council as well for the whole city, the metropolitan area, but again, each place has its different identity. Now, if we go over here, what we also see in the Barrio Alto, let's go over here. You ready? Come on, Professor. You can see over here. This collection of roads here, this motorway section here, that leads up to Vitacura. Now this is called the Costanera Norte. It's on the north side of the river Mapocho, which is the main river that drains from the Andes and through Santiago. Now that's the main transport artery from the airport, past the centre and up to the Barrio Alto. And what that does is it provides a route here across the city. It's a major feat of engineering. What happened was that they drained the river and they built a tunnel underneath the river, some 15 kilometres, 20 kilometres long. So again, people who arrive at the airport, they kind of bypass the city, they go underneath it, and they come out here and are taken up to the high-class areas. An incredible feat of engineering along the Costanera here. Now, and finally, the final thing to show you is in the north of the city. The north of the city, because the north of the city is quite different. It's through this tunnel here, which goes to the north, Ruta 5, the Pan-American Highway, all the way up to the very far north of the country. On the north side of this small range here, San Cristobal, which is an urban park, you have parts of the city that are certainly not El Barrio Alto. There's industrialization, and in fact, in one section here you have La Ciudad de Empresarial, which is the entrepreneurial city. So what they've sought to do is decentralize industrial activity away from the center, away from Las Condes, out towards the periphery of the city, to try and get rid of this density problem that you get across Santiago in general. So it's an enormous city. It's got significant geographic problems environmentally, significant geographic problems as well socially, because it's a divided city. You've got the high-class area here, and further south in the industrial area you've got very poor sectors of society. So in some ways Santiago is more than one city. It's many, many cities all rolled into one, with significant problems due to globalization. Georambles 2018, May. Top of Costanera, Santiago, Chile. Ciao.